All right, so today we're going to be looking at foreign policy. When we're talking about foreign policy, we're looking at the United States and their involvement with things happening outside of our country. When we talk about domestic policy, it's within our own borders. We talk about foreign policy, it's outside of our borders. So we're going to do this by talking about a school fight, and we're going to look at, we're going to connect it to foreign policy and the United States choices and how involved they want to get with other countries. So let's just say we're all back here at school and you're going to the upper calf and you notice these kids all kind of jostling and yelling and you hear them yelling, fight, fight, fight. And so you want to see what's happening. So you find a way to kind of to sneak in there and you look between the crowd and you see two people fighting. Well, they're not fighting yet, but they're ready to fight with one another. One of them is a good friend. The other one is a former friend. They're no longer your friend because they stole money from you. All right. So those are the two people involved. You have four options with what you are going to do and how you are going to react. Here are those options. Option number one, you're going to turn away and you're going to leave because the fight really doesn't concern you, and getting involved in this fight will only mean trouble for you. All right, so that's option number one, is just to turn away. If you look at your note sheet, it is a horizontal note sheet. And option number one, then you want to fill this in, is known as isolationism, kind of being the loner. Really, you are adhering to the idea of strict non-involvement in the affairs of other nations, or in this instance, the school fight, you do not want to get involved in other people's business. So you just walk away from the fight. You'll notice on your note sheet that there are two columns, one for advantages of this perspective and one for disadvantages of this perspective as well. So I will just list a couple for you. You want to make sure to get those filled in. An advantage of practicing isolationism or being a loner is that you're protecting yourself. There's no harm to you. You are really uninvolved. However, a disadvantage in the situation is people might question your loyalty. This is your friend in there and you're not stepping in to help. You're also not helping with any kind of a solution. And by not helping others, you're risking the chance of them not helping you if you are ever in that same situation. All right, so again, option one, isolationism, kind of becoming a loner. Option number two, you convince a couple of friends to help you out. And you actually get in there and you separate the two students before anyone hurts each other. So no one has thrown any punches, no one has been hurt. So you, again, grab a couple of friends to help you and you separate the two students. This option is known as collective security. Kind of the nickname is the team player. With collective security, what you're really doing is trying to get other countries to help you, so you're not alone. You're getting other countries to help you to help influence world affairs. You are looking out for the security and safety of the collective, which means everyone. All right, so that is collective security. If we look at advantages and disadvantages for collective security, or pros and cons, a pro of this is that you're stepping in to help, but your hands are clean. You're not getting into trouble. You're not throwing any punches yourself. So you're stepping in to be part of the solution, but you're not doing anything that would maybe jeopardize your own safety. You're staying somewhat neutral in the situation as well. And you're not alone. You're working with others, which is very beneficial. If we then look at the disadvantages of this one, you're kind of helping your friend. I mean, you're stepping in to help your friend, but you're also not helping them in a way because you're not helping them get maybe what they want or take their side because you're staying neutral. And then you also have to look at that risk versus reward. You are stepping in, you could potentially be harmed. And for what? What's the reward that you get for stepping in? All right, so that would be one of the disadvantages, is the risk versus the reward. Option number three is that you get into the fight on your friend's side and you knock out the former friend. They owe you money, you think they deserve it. So you jump in the fight on the side of your friend. This option is known as internationalism, or world policeman. And hopefully what you've noticed as we've gone through here is our involvement gets a little bit greater every time we take a step with every option. First one, isolationism, you're not involved at all. Collective security, you step in to help a little bit. All right, but again, you're not getting too involved. But now we're in option three, internationalism. This is where you're stepping in and being more involved. You're intervening in other countries' affairs to promote your national interests and safeguard your national security. If we look at advantages or pros to this one, number one, you're having more control or power. A second advantage to this one is that you're helping out your friend, right? You're proving your loyalty to them. which means that you're having that safety net. So if you're ever in that situation, you now feel confident that your friend would be able to step up and help you. Okay, so that's another one as well. And you're also getting what you're owed a little bit, right? I mean, that person you knocked out is a former friend, so maybe you feel like they kind of have what they're getting, what's coming to them. The disadvantages of this perspective is you're probably going to create more enemies, because it turns out the person that you knocked out, they probably have some friends. People might question your motive. Are you really stepping in to help out your friend? Or are you stepping in because you're upset with the person that you just knocked out? You're also putting yourself at risk to get in trouble, right? And there are consequences to that as well. The other thing about stepping in that could be considered a disadvantage is now people might assume that you're always going to step in and help, that you will now be obliged to help every time. All right, option number 4, you jump into the fight, you knock them both out because you just want everyone to see just how tough you are. All right, this one is known as imperialism, or being the world bully, right? Stepping in. What you're doing is you're extending your power over everyone. You want everyone to think that you are the most powerful person in the school. If we look at this for the United States in a foreign policy perspective, imperialism, extending power by acquiring territory around the globe or exploiting weaker nations to serve your own national interests. It's really one country having power over another country. That's really what it is. One country extending their power over another. That's really a simplified definition of imperialism. So in this instance, when you do have imperialism, you then have a country that's ruling over what would be considered a colony. All right, so the imperial power rules over their colony. If we look at the pros and cons, or advantages and disadvantages of this one, oh, sorry about that. The pros of this one would be power, right? You have power and you now gain the resources as well that those countries had that now belong to you. You get the resources, you have control, you have the wealth, you are the boss. If we look at disadvantages of this perspective, you're not going to have any friends anymore. You've completely lost your safety net. Not only is the person who was your enemy still your enemy, but now the person that was your friend is also probably your enemy at this point. The other main disadvantage of imperialism, or of being this powerful person or holding this power, is you now become a target and everyone wants to take you down. I think about a sports team, for example. If you're the number one team in state, everyone wants to be the team that takes you out, that hands you that first loss. So with this power, now, of course, you have this target on your back. All right. So again, we have 4 options for the United States in foreign policy. The one with strict non-involvement, or the least involvement, is isolationism. A little bit more involved is collective security. A little bit more involved than that is internationalism. And then imperialism is complete involvement in foreign policy.